Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Test. Can everyone hear me? Good morning. Hello, chat. Can everyone see me? Hello. Good morning, Michael. Good morning, Key. Good morning, Sanford. Good morning, Composer. Good morning, Yor. Good morning, Supergrump. Good morning, Paran. Good morning, Mario. Good morning, Nilla. Feel free to lurk. I'm sorry, I don't think I have a... I'm not sure what that's for. Is that a chat command? I very likely do not have one. Good morning, Minus. And hello, Vay. Good morning, Canary. Hello. Greetings. Oh, thank you very much for the resub. Welcome back for an entire year. Hello, She. Good morning to you. And good morning, Strawberry. So, just to preface, I have, I don't know if you can tell, chances are you can't, but I have another filter put on my microphone to hopefully cancel some more noise. I'm not sure how well it's doing. I'm not sure if it's working, but if you can still hear me, maybe I'll move the mic a smidgen closer. If you can still hear me well, hear me the same as usual, that would be great. Glad if audio is otherwise okay. Ah, gosh. Glad. Okie doke. No. Excellent. Good news. Before we crack on with our favorite daytime drama, The Picture of Dorian Gray, I did ask a little earlier on Twitter about what people would like to see if I ever were to do a long stream, like a subathon, and of course my standard of long stream is probably not as long as some other streamers, but thinking for the future, perhaps the near future, a long stream being mayhaps like 6 hours. 6 hours seems like a long time to me, but received some lovely replies and suggestions, and going through them all, I noticed that there were some folks who wanted to do some tabletopping, but wanted it to be like chat interactive tabletop, which I think is a great idea. I think that'd be fun to do if I could find, or if I could write some sort of scenario where that would be well included. I don't know. Just scratching the brain a little bit. I see a few people asking for good old horror games. Horror, of course. We shall see. And yeah, no, lots of good ideas. on the other hand, there's also quite a few people who are curious about like my designing process, which is an interesting one. I think for sure I could just scrabble that on stream. Rather, I feel like if you probably toss the VODs where I'm drawing something, you'll be able to see the mess of that process as it goes. But yes, if it's like a palatable horror, like maybe a pixel horror, got a couple of pixely games just on file, but pulling them out and playing them, I guess, is the difficulty there. What is games? But lots of good suggests. Hello, Dashing Demon. Thank you very much. Thank you for the kind words. Let's see. Welcome, Insane Baked Potato. Yeah, just tossing the suggests into the box and pulling them out later. We'll see how it goes. Thank you for replying, though. Thank you for replying and sending suggestions. Feel free to reply more than once if you have other ideas. Indie pixel games. Yeah, that sort of thing. I have not played Angels of Death, if you mean, what's it? Matsuriku no Kenshi? I have only watched, not played. I figured that I think I was working on something, I decided to put it on. But, yes. Anyway, games. Gotta branch out and play some games. Sometime. In terms of other plans, though, I have something very distantly cooking for Valentine's Day, which may or may not happen. Very stinky. It probably won't happen, but, you know, stuff is on the cards. Welcome, Bird. So I have a new book. I have my new book here, which I will tack on when I am a reading. Cooking stream. I thought about it once upon a time. I wouldn't say I was a specifically bad cook. It's just that I live with like 3, sometimes 4 other people. And I guess I would feel bad if they trundled into the stream. To be fair, I know for sure, you know, a couple of them wouldn't mind, but mops my forehead. I do remember on some distant 3 a.m. Discord call with friends, I gave them a very dark, silent tour of my house. So, you know, in the dead of night, I took my phone and I walked around the house. And then I went down to the kitchen and I made waffles. I made silent waffles. Oh, no worries. I mean, it's good to always entertain new things, consider new silent waffles. I didn't have sound on that call, so I couldn't, you know, talk them through what I was doing. So what I had to do is I had to just gesture on screen with my hands, you know, holds up an egg as if I'm doing like a makeup stream. Holds up an egg, cracks the egg. Silent. Cooks in absolute silence. Well, they got the message. It happened very late at night / early in the morning. I don't know if I would do it again, but mayhaps someday I'll do a 3 a.m. waffle cooking stream for you guys. Bad ideas. Anyway, so today we're back to our favorite terrible person, Dorian Gray. And so far we are on chapter 16, I believe. So moving on to chapter 16, what happened in the last 2 chapters we read? Actually, we'll just do the general recap. So Dorian Gray, our exceedingly handsome man, does bad stuff. Instead of him aging, his portrait ages in his place. And so his ex-friend who painted that portrait, Basil Hallward, came and found him. So since the beginning of the book, already 10 years have passed. What is it, 16 years have passed? Something quite long. Dorian Gray basically hasn't aged, but everyone else has aged around him. The friend who painted said portrait came to find him one night and was like, "Oh, Dorian, I've heard all this smack talk about you." And Dorian Gray is like, it's not true. Yes, it is. Anyway, it's all warranted. And so he kills said friend. And so Basil Hallward's corpse, just laying about up in one of his locked rooms, and he goes and calls up his another ex-friend, Alan Campbell, and says, "So I have a dead man that needs getting rid of. Can you do that?" And of course, Alan Campbell, who already hates Dorian Gray, is like, "No, I think not. You should just go to jail. Murderers go to jail." And Dorian Gray pulls out the blackmail card and blackmails Alan Campbell into disposing of said corpse. And so after a few hours, he manages to get rid of Basil Hallward's corpse. And so the crime has been committed and there is no more corpse, and no one will find that Basil is missing until several months later. So that's kind of been ushered under the carpet. But then he goes to a party. So Dorian Gray goes to a party with Harry, aka Lord Henry, his friend in quotes, and some other nobles with nothing better to do with their time. And they talk about some getaway that they're all going to go to later. Some duchess who wants to hit on Dorian, something of the sort. And Harry just asks out of pure interest, "Dorian, what have you been up to?" And Dorian Gray just kind of loses his nut, and he goes off on this tangent about, "I didn't go to the club. I walked about. I forgot. No, wait. Why are you asking me this? I came in at 2:30. That's what I did. And the servant let me in, blah, blah, blah." And realizing that he is kind of going mad, having murdered his pal, Dorian Gray goes home, burns all of Basil Hallward's belongings. So Basil Hallward's coat and bag get thrown into the fireplace, and then he pulls out a hidden opium paste. He's about to hit the drugs, and then he gets changed into ordinary clothes, aka not noble person clothes, wears a big scarf, and then hires this horse to go and drive himself to some unknown location. So that is where we are in the story. Fun times as always, methinks. Let's begin. Yeah, it's something like this, methinks. Chapter 16. Can everyone hear me? How is the background music? Audio good? Excellent. A cold rain began to fall, and the blurred street lamps looked ghastly in the dripping mist. The public houses were just closing, and dim men and women were clustering in broken groups round their doors. From some of the bars came the sound of horrible laughter. In others, drunkards brawled and screamed. Laying back in the hansom with his hat pulled over his forehead, Dorian Gray watched with listless eyes the sordid shame of the great city. And now and then he had repeated to himself the words that Lord Henry had said to him on the first day they'd met, to cure the soul by means of the senses, and the senses by means of the soul. Yes, that was the secret. He had often tried it, and would try again now. There were opium dens where one could buy oblivion, dens of horror where the memory of old sins could be destroyed by the madness of sins that were new. The moon hung low in the sky like a yellow skull. From time to time, a huge, misshapen cloud stretched a long arm across and hid it. The gas lamps grew fewer, and the streets more narrow and gloomy. Once, the man lost his way and had to drive back half a mile. A steam rose from the horse as it splashed up the puddles. The side windows of the hansom were clogged with a grey flannel mist. To cure the soul by means of the senses, and the senses by means of the soul. How the words rang in his ears. His soul certainly was sick to death. Was it true that the senses could cure it? Innocent blood had been spilled. What could atone for that? For that, there was no atonement. But though forgiveness was impossible, forgetfulness was possible still, and he was determined to forget, to stamp the thing out, to crush it, as one would crush the adder that had stung one. Indeed, what right had Basil to have spoken to him as he had done? Who had made him a judge over others? He had said things that were dreadful, horrible, not to be endured. On and on plodded the hansom, going slower it seemed to him at each step. He thrust up the trap, called to the man to drive faster. The hideous hunger for opium began to gnaw at him. His throat burned and his delicate hands twitched nervously together. He struck at the horse madly with his stick. The driver laughed and whipped up. He laughed in answer, and the man was silent. The way seemed interminable, the streets like the black web of some sprawling spider. The monotony became unbearable, and as the mist thickened, he felt afraid. Then they passed by lonely brick fields. The fog was lighter here, and he could see the strange bottle-shaped kilns with their orange fan-like tongues of fire. A dog barked as they went by, and far away in the darkness, some wandering seagull screamed. The horse stumbled in a rut and swerved aside and broke into a gallop. After some time, they left the clay road and rattled again over rough paven streets. Most of the windows were dark, but now and then fantastic shadows were silhouetted against some lamplit blind. He watched them curiously. They moved like monstrous marionettes and made gestures like live things. He hated them. A dull rage was in his heart. As they turned a corner, a woman yelled something at them from an open door, and 2 men ran after the hansom for about 100 yards. The driver beat at them with his whip. It is said that passion makes one think in a circle. Certainly, with hideous iteration, the bitten lips of Dorian Gray shaped and reshaped those subtle words that dealt with soul and sense till he had found in them the full expression, as it were, of his mood, and justified by intellectual approval passions that without such justification would still have dominated his temper. From cell to cell of his brain crept the one thought and the wild desire to live, most terrible of all man's appetites, quickened into force each trembling nerve and fibre. Ugliness that had once been hateful to him because it made things real became dear to him now for that very reason. Ugliness was the one reality. The coarse brawl, the loathsome dead, the crude violence of disordered life, the very vileness of thief and outcast, were more vivid in their intense actuality of impression than all the gracious shapes of art, the dreamy shadows of song. They were what he needed, for forgetfulness. In 3 days, he would be free. Suddenly, the man drew up with a jerk at the top of a dark lane. Over the low roofs and jagged chimney stacks of the houses rose the black masts of ships, reeds of white mist clung like ghostly sails to the yards.
"Somewhere about here, sir, ain't it?"
he asked huskily through the trap. Dorian started and peered round.
"This will do,"
he answered, and having got hastily out and given the driver the extra fare he had promised, he walked quickly in the direction of the quay. Here and there, a lantern gleamed at the stern of some huge merchantman. The light shook and splintered in the puddles. A red glare came from an outward-bound steamer that was coaling. The slimy pavement looked like a wet mackintosh. He hurried on towards the left, glancing back now and then to see if he was being followed. In about 7 or 8 minutes, he reached a small, shabby house that was wedged in between 2 gaunt factories. In one of the top windows stood a lamp. He stopped and gave a peculiar knock. After some time, he heard steps in the passage and the chain being unhooked. The door opened quietly, and he went in without saying a word to the squat, misshapen figure that flattened itself into the shadow as he passed. At the end of the hall hung a tattered green curtain. It swayed and shook in the gusty wind which had followed him in from the street. He dragged it aside and entered a low, long room which looked as if it had once been a third-rate dancing saloon. Shrill, flaring gas jets, dulled and distorted, in the fly-blown mirrors that faced them, were ranged round the walls. Greasy reflectors of ribbed tin backed them, making quivering discs of light. The floor was covered with ochre-coloured sawdust, trampled here and there into mud, and stained with dark rings of spilled liquor. In one corner, with his head buried in his arms, a sailor sprawled over a table. And by the tawdrily painted bar that ran across one complete side stood two haggard women, mocking an old man who was brushing the sleeves of his coat with an expression of disgust. "He thinks he's got ants on him," laughed one of them as Dorian passed by. The man looked at her in terror and began to whimper. At the end of the room, there was a little staircase leading to a darkened chamber. As Dorian hurried up its 3 rickety steps, the heavy odor of opium met him. He heaved a deep breath, and his nostrils shook with pleasure. When he entered, a young man with smooth yellow hair who was bending over a lamp lighting a long, thin pipe looked at him and nodded in a hesitating manner.
"You here, Adrian?"
muttered Dorian.
"Where else should I be?"
He answered listlessly.
"None of the chaps will speak to me now." "I thought you had left England." "Darlington is not going to do anything. My brother paid the bill at last. George doesn't speak to me either." "I don't care,"
he added with a sigh.
"As long as one has the stuff, one doesn't want friends. I think I've had too many friends."
Dorian winced and looked round at the grotesque things that lay in such fantastic postures on the ragged mattresses. The twisted limbs, the gaping mouths, the staring, lusterless eyes fascinated him. He knew in what strange heavens they were suffering, and what dull hells were teaching them the secret of some new joy. They were better off than he was. He was prisoned in thought. Memory, like a horrible malady, was eating his soul away. From time to time, he seemed to see the eyes of Basil Hallward looking at him. Yet, he felt he could not stay. The presence of Adrian Singleton troubled him. He wanted to be where no one would know who he was. He wanted to escape from himself.
"I'm going on to the other place,"
he said after a pause.
"Onto the wharf?" "Yes." "That mad cat is sure to be there. They won't have her in this place now."
Dorian shrugged his shoulders.
"I'm sick of women who love one. Women who hate one are much more interesting. Besides, the stuff is better. Much the same. I like it better. Come and have something to drink. We must have something." "Don't want anything,"
murmured the young man.
"Never mind."
Adrian Singleton rose up warily and followed Dorian to the bar. A half-caste in a ragged turban and shabby ulster grinned a hideous greeting as he thrust a bottle of brandy and 2 tumblers in front of them. The woman sidled up and began to chatter. Dorian turned his back on them and said something in a low voice to Adrian Singleton. A crooked smile writhed across the face of one of the women. "We are very proud tonight," he sneered.
"For God's sake, don't talk to me,"
cried Dorian, stamping his foot on the ground.
"Do you want money? Here it is. Don't ever talk to me again."
2 red sparks flashed for a moment in the woman's sodden eyes, then flickered out and left them dull and glazed. She tossed her head and raked the coins off the counter with greedy fingers. Her companion watched her enviously.
"It's no use,"
sighed Adrian Singleton.
"I don't care to go back. What does it matter? I'm quite happy here." "You will write to me if you want anything, won't you?"
said Dorian after a pause.
"Perhaps." "Good night, then." "Good night,"
answered the young man, passing up the steps and wiping his parched mouth with a handkerchief. Dorian walked to the door with a look of pain in his face. As he drew the curtain aside, a hideous laugh broke from the painted lips of the woman who had taken his money. "There goes the devil's bargain," she hiccuped in a coarse voice.
"Curse you,"
he answered.
"Don't call me that."
She snapped her fingers. "Prince Charming's what you like to be called, ain't it?" she yelled after him. The drowsy sailor leapt to his feet as she spoke and looked wildly round. The sound of the shutting of the door fell on his ear. He rushed out as if in pursuit. Dorian Gray hurried along the quay through the drizzling rain. His meeting with Adrian Singleton had strangely moved him, and he wondered if the ruin of that young life was really to be laid at his door, as Basil Hallward had said to him, with such infamy of insult. He bit his lip, and for a few seconds, his eyes grew sad. Yet, after all, what did it matter to him? One's days were too brief to take the burden of another's errors on one's shoulders. Each man lived his own life and paid his own price for living it. The only pity was one had to pay so often for a single fault. One had to pay over and over for it. Indeed, in her dealings with man, destiny ever closed her accounts. There are moments, psychologists tell us, when the passion for sin, or for what the world calls sin, so dominates a nature that every fiber of the body, as every cell of the brain, seems to be instinct with fearful impulses. Men and women at such moments lose the freedom of their will. They move to the terrible end as automatons move. Choice is taken from them, and their conscience is either killed, or if it lives at all, lives but to give rebellion its fascination and disobedience its charm. For all sins, as theologians, weary of not reminding us, are sins of disobedience. When that high spirit, that morning star of evil fell from heaven, it was as a rebel that he fell. Callous, concentrated on evil, with stained mind, and soul hungry for rebellion, Dorian Gray hastened on, quickening his step as he went. But, as he darted aside into a dim archway that had served him often as a shortcut to the ill-famed place where he was going, he felt himself suddenly seized from behind, and before he had time to defend himself, he was thrust back against a wall, with a brutal hand round his throat. He struggled madly for life, and by a terrible effort, wrenched the tightening fingers away. In a second, he heard the click of a revolver and saw the gleam of a polished barrel pointing straight at his head. A and the dusky form of a short, thick-set man facing him.
"What do you want?"
he gasped.
"Keep quiet,"
said the man.
"If you stir, I shoot you." You are mad. What have I done to you?" "You wrecked the life of Sybil Vane,"
was the answer.
"And Sybil Vane was my sister. She killed herself. I know it. Her death is at your door. I swore I would kill you in return. For years I've sought you. I had no clue, no trace. The 2 people who could have described you were dead. I knew nothing of you but the pet name she used to call you. I heard it tonight, by chance. Make your peace with God, for tonight you are going to die."
Dorian Gray grew sick with fear.
I never knew her,"
he stammered.
"Never heard of her. You are mad." "You had better confess your sin, for as sure as I am James Vane, you are going to die."
There was a horrible moment. Dorian did not know what to say or do.
"Down on your knees,"
growled the man.
"I give you 1 minute to make your peace. No more. I go on board tonight for India, and I must do my job first. 1 minute. That's all."
Dorian's arms fell to his side. Paralyzed with terror, he did not know what to do. Suddenly, a wild hope flashed across his brain.
Stop. How long ago is it since your sister died? Quick, tell me." 18 years,
said the man.
"Why do you ask me? What do years matter?" 18 years,
laughed Dorian Gray, with a touch of triumph in his voice.
18 years? Set me under the lamp. Look at my face.
James Vane hesitated for a moment, not understanding what he meant. Then he seized Dorian Gray and dragged him from the archway. Dim and wavering as was the wind-blown light, yet it served to show him the hideous error as it seemed into which he had fallen. For the face of the man he had sought to kill had all the bloom of boyhood, all the unstained purity of youth. He seemed little more than a lad of 20 summers, hardly older, if older indeed at all, than his sister had been when they'd parted so many years ago. It was obvious that this was not the man who had destroyed her life. He loosened his hold and reeled back.
My God. Oh my God. And I would have murdered you.
Dorian Gray drew a long breath.
You've been on the brink of committing a terrible crime, my man,
he said, looking at him sternly.
Let this be a warning to you, not to take vengeance into your own hands. Forgive me, sir,
muttered James Vane.
I was deceived. A chance word I heard in that damned inn set me on the wrong track. You'd better go home and put that pistol away, or you may get into trouble,
said Dorian, turning on his heel and going slowly down the street. James Vane stood on the pavement in horror. He was trembling from head to foot. After a little while, a black shadow that had been creeping along the dripping wall moved out into the light and came close to him with stealthy footsteps. He felt a hand laid on his arm and looked round with a start. It was one of the women who had been drinking at the bar. "Why didn't you kill him?" she hissed out, putting a haggard face quite close to his. "I knew you were following him when you rushed out from Daly's. Fool. You should have killed him. He has lots of money and he is bad as bad."
He's not the man I'm looking for,
he answered.
"And I want no man's money. I want a man's life. The man whose life I want must be nearly 40 now. This one is little more than a boy. Thank God I've not got his blood upon my hands."
The woman gave a bitter laugh. "Little more than a boy?" she sneered. "Why, man, it's now 18 years since Prince Charming made me what I am."
You lie, cried James Vane.
"Before God, I am telling the truth." She raised her hand up to heaven.
Before God.
"Strike me dumb if it ain't so. He's the worst one that comes here. They say he has sold himself to the devil for a pretty face. It's nigh on 18 years since I met him. He hasn't changed much since then. I have, though," he added, with a sickly leer.
You swear this?
"I swear it," came in hoarse echo from her flat mouth. "But don't give me away to him. I am afraid of him. Let me have some money for my night's lodging." He broke from her with an oath and rushed to the corner of the street, but Dorian Gray had disappeared. When he looked back, the woman had vanished also. And so we reached the end of chapter 16. My. The gist of welcome nephew, welcome everyone. The gist of what happened in this chapter is that Dorian Gray, who has been on his way to an opium den, drives through basically what seems to be the worst part of town, where people are screaming and brawling and yelling and chasing after his horse. Arrives at said opium den, and then going inside, he meets a young man who Basil Hall had actually confronted him about. He asked him, well, in some other terms, "Did you destroy Adrian Singleton's life?" To which Dorian Gray right now is thinking, yes, did I possibly corrupt this youth into destroying his life with, opium? Maybe. Possibly. Thank you very much for the bun drink water redeem. I will have some water. Hello, VTuber Weeber Simper. Greetings. We are reading a book. How was the audio filter this time? If it's working well, I'll just continue to use it as is. I hoped it would, would make the listening experience a little more friendly. The traffic at my place can't be helped though if you hear the occasional wee-woo. Anyway, so he meets Adrian Singleton, who is like, "I love drugs, I hate people." And Dorian Gray is like, "Oh, ugh, eek." And so he says, "I think I would rather just go somewhere else." And he's walking out when a woman who I think he very likely took advantage of in his previous years comes and harasses him. And he's like, "Go away, do you want money? I'll give you money." And he throws money at her. And as he is leaving, she calls him Prince Charming. Now throwback to several chapters ago, to when he was wooing Sybil Vane, who was a young actress in a theatre, who upon his very cruel rejection, committed suicide. So she committed suicide and died. And the sailor, who is revealed to be none other than Sybil Vane's brother, James Vane, comes out chasing him. And, he rat grabs Dorian Gray in, just in an alleyway, and puts a gun to his head and says, "I'm gonna shoot you. I'm gonna freaking shoot you. And, I'll give you 1 minute to at least say goodbye to whatever." And in that minute, Dorian Gray realizes, look at my face, I'm so young and beautiful. I'm so young and so beautiful, you wouldn't kill me. And so James Vane doesn't kill him. And then the woman who Dorian Gray threw money at comes out and is like, "Why didn't you kill that guy? You should have killed him. You fool. Kill the guy. Kill the guy, he is so bad." And anyway, Dorian Gray gets away, and James Vane is left feeling like a fool for real. So that is what happened in chapter 16. Is everyone doing okay? Is everyone keeping up with these adventures? This next chapter is once again mostly chatter, but I will just try to run it through, and we'll probably leave it at that. Glad if you think the audio is okay. Yes. If the audio is good, then I am happy. Exciting days with Dorian Gray. Welcome, Lan. Let's see. Go back to... Now we are on to chapter 17. A week later, Dorian Gray was sitting in the conservatory at Selby Royal, talking to the pretty Duchess of Monmouth, who, with her husband, a jaded-looking man of 60, was among his guests. It was tea time, and the mellow light of the huge lace-covered lamp that stood on the table lit up the delicate china and hammered silver of the service at which the Duchess was presiding. Her white hands were moving daintily among the cups, and her full red lips were smiling at something that Dorian had whispered to her. Lord Henry was lying back in a silk-draped wicker chair, looking at them. On a peach-coloured divan sat Lady Narborough, pretending to listen to the Duke's descriptions of the last Brazilian beetle that he had added to his collection. 3 young men in elaborate smoking suits were handing tea cakes to some of the women. The house party consisted of 12 people, and there were more expected to arrive on the next day.
"What are you two talking about?"
said Lord Henry, strolling over to the table and putting his cup down.
"I hope Dorian has told you about my plan for rechristening everything, Gladys. It is a delightful idea."
"But I don't want to be rechristened, Harry," rejoined the Duchess, looking up at him with her wonderful eyes. "I'm quite satisfied with my own name, and I'm sure Mr. Gray should be satisfied with his."
"My dear Gladys, I would not alter either name for the world. They're both perfect. I was thinking chiefly of flowers. Yesterday I cut an orchid for my buttonhole. It was a marvellous spotted thing, as effective as the 7 deadly sins. In a thoughtless moment, I asked one of the gardeners what it was called. He told me it was a fine specimen of Robinsoniana, or something dreadful of that kind. It is a dreadful truth, but we've lost the faculty of giving lovely names to things. Names are everything. I never quarrel with actions. My one quarrel is with words. That is the reason I hate vulgar realism in literature. The man who could call a spade should be compelled to use one. It is the only thing he is fit for.
Then, what should we call you, Harry? She asked.
His name is Prince Paradox.
I recognize him in a flash, exclaimed the Duchess.
I won't have of it,
laughed Lord Henry, sinking into a chair.
From a label there is no escape. I refuse the title.
Royalties may not abdicate, fell as a warning from pretty lips.
You wish me to defend my throne, then?
Yes.
And give the truth of tomorrow.
I prefer the mistakes of today, she answered.
You disarm me, Gladys,
he cried, catching the willfulness of her mood. Of your shield, Harry, not of your spear.
I never tilt against beauty,
he said, with a wave of his hand. That is your error, Harry. Believe me, you value beauty far too much.
How can you say that? I admit that I think it is much better to be beautiful than it is to be good, but on the other hand, no one is more ready than I am to acknowledge that it is better to be good than to be ugly.
Ugliness is one of the 7 deadly sins, then? Cried the Duchess. What becomes of your simile about the orchid?
Ugliness is one of the 7 deadly virtues, Gladys. You, as a good Tory, must not underrate them. Beer, the Bible, and the 7 deadly virtues have made our England what she is.
You don't like your country, then? She asked.
I live in it.
That you may censure it for the better.
Would you have me take the verdict of Europe on it?
He inquired. What do they say of us?
That Tartuffe has emigrated to England and opened up a shop.
Is that yours, Harry?
I give it to you.
I could not use it. It is too true.
You need not be afraid. Our countrymen never recognize a description.
They are practical.
They're more cunning than practical. When they make up their ledger, they balance stupidity by wealth and vice by hypocrisy.
Still, we have done great things.
Great things have been thrust on us, Gladys.
This exchange. Anyway. She shook her head. I believe in the race, she cried.
Represents the survival of the pushing.
It has development.
Decay fascinates me more.
What of art? She asked.
'Tis a malady.
Love?
An illusion.
Religion?
The fashionable substitute for belief.
You are a skeptic.
Never. Skepticism is the beginning of faith.
What are you?
To define is to limit.
Give me a clue.
Fred snap. You would lose your way in the labyrinth.
You bewilder me. Let us talk of someone else.
Our host is a delightful topic. Years ago, he was christened Prince Charming. Don't remind me of that.
By Dorian Gray. Our host is rather horrid this evening, answered the Duchess, colouring. I I believe he thinks that Mum married me on purely scientific principles, as the best specimen he could find of a modern butterfly.
Oh, well, I hope he won't stick pins into you, Duchess, laughed Dorian.
Oh, my maid does that already, Mr. Gray, when she's annoyed with me.
And what does she get annoyed with you about, Duchess?
For the most trivial things, Mr. Gray, I assure you. Usually because I come in at 10 minutes to 9 and tell her that I must be dressed by 8:30.
How unreasonable of her. You should give her warning.
I daren't, Mr. Gray. Why, she invents hats for me. You remember the one I wore at Lady Hillstone's garden party? You don't, but it is nice of you to pretend that you do. Well, she made it out of nothing. All good hats are made out of nothing.
Like all good reputations, Gladys,
Interrupted Lord Henry.
Every effect that one produces gives one an enemy. To be popular, one must be a mediocrity.
Not with women, said the Duchess, shaking her head. And women rule the world. I assure you, we can't bear mediocrities. We women, as someone says, love with our ears, just as you men love with your eyes, if you ever love at all.
Seems to me that we never do anything else,
murmured Dorian. Ah, then you never really love Mr. Gray, answered the Duchess with mock sadness.
My dear Gladys,
cried Lord Henry.
How can you say that? Romance lives by reputation. And it converts an appetite into art. Besides, each time that one loves is the only time one has ever loved. Difference of object does not alter singleness of passion. It merely intensifies it. We can have in life but one great experience at best, and the secret of life is to reproduce that experience as often as possible.
Even when one has been wounded by it, Harry? Asked the Duchess after a pause.
Especially when one has been wounded by it,
answered Lord Henry. The Duchess turned and looked at Dorian Gray with a curious expression in her eyes. What do you say to that, Mr. Gray? She inquired. Dorian hesitated for a moment. Then he threw his head back and laughed.
I always agree with Harry, Duchess.
Even when he is wrong?
Harry is never wrong, Duchess.
And does his philosophy make you happy?
I have never searched for happiness. Who wants happiness? I have searched for pleasure.
And found it, Mr. Gray?
Often. Too often.
The Duchess sighed. I am searching for peace, she said. And if I don't go and dress, I shall have none this evening.
Let me get you some orchids, Duchess, cried Dorian, starting to his feet and walking down the conservatory. You are flirting disgracefully with him,
said Lord Henry to his cousin.
You had better take care. He is very fascinating.
If he were not, there would be no battle.
Greek meets Greek, then.
I am on the side of the Trojans. They fought for a woman.
They were defeated.
There are worse things than capture.
You gallop with a loose rein.
Pace gives life.
I shall write it in my diary tonight.
What?
That a burnt child loves the fire.
I am not even singed. My wings are untouched.
You use them for everything, except flight?
Courage has passed from men to women. It is a new experience for us.
You have a rival.
Who? He laughed.
Lady Narborough.
He whispered.
She perfectly adores him.
You fill me with apprehension. The appeal to antiquity is fatal to us who are romanticists.
Romanticists? You have all the methods of science.
Men have educated us.
But not explained you.
Describe us, as a sex, was her challenge.
Sphinxes, without secrets.
She looked at him, smiling. Oh, how long Mr. Gray is. Let us go and help him. I've not yet told him the colour of my frock.
You must suit your frock to his flowers, Gladys.
That would be a premature surrender.
Romantic art begins with its climax.
I must keep an opportunity for a treat.
In the Parthian manner?
I found safety in the desert. I could not do that.
Women are not always allowed a choice,
he answered. But hardly had he finished the sentence before from the far end of the conservatory, came a stifled groan, followed by the dull sound of a heavy fall. Everybody started up. The Duchess stood motionless in horror, and with fear in his eyes, Lord Henry rushed through the flapping palms to find Dorian Gray lying face downward on the tiled floor in a death-like swoon. He was carried at once into the blue drawing room and laid upon one of the sofas. After a short time, he came to himself and looked round with a dazed expression.
What has happened?
He asked.
Oh, I remember. Am I safe here, Harry?
He began to tremble.
My dear Dorian,
answered Lord Henry.
You merely fainted, that was all. You must have overtired yourself. You'd better not come down to dinner. I will take your place. No, I will come down,
he said, struggling to his feet.
I would rather come down. I must not be alone.
He went to his room and dressed. There was a wild recklessness of gaiety in his manner as he sat at the table. But now and then, a thrill of terror ran through him when he remembered that, pressed against the window of the conservatory, like a white handkerchief, he had seen the face of James Vane watching him. And so we reach the end of chapter 17. Dorian Gray, the horror novel. Oh, thank you for the bun drink water redeem key. I will sip some water. Well, what did you guys think of that chapter? So, what has happened is a week has passed since Dorian Gray's encounter with James Vane in the alleyway with a gun, and he is in the conservatory at Selby Royal, which is, well, it's the fancy place where it was mentioned in earlier chapters that he was going on holiday with these bunch of noble folks, and that's basically it. The noble folks have come out to have a fun time. So, at a house party, Lord Henry, his cousin the Duchess, and Dorian Gray are hanging about. Lord Harry says, by the way, Dorian Gray's nickname is Prince Charming, of course, Dorian Gray, upon hearing this, is like, oh no, don't say that anymore, please. And then, on having another conversation with the Duchess of interesting, I don't know, Lord Henry being a misogynist as always, and interesting responses from the Duchess. I rather like her, actually. Dorian Gray is like, I'm just gonna pop away to get some flowers. And while he's away, Harry says to the Duchess, you have a crush on him. I know you're hitting on him. And then says, by the way, Lady Narborough also has a big crush on Dorian Gray, so you might want to watch out for her. And then they hear Dorian Gray fainting at the far side of the conservatory and find him face down on the floor. And then he's like, oh my god, what happened? And so Harry's like, you fainted, you passed out. And says, don't worry about coming to dinner, I'll just go down. And Dorian Gray says, I would rather not be alone, I'll come down to dinner. And then he goes down to dinner, and we realize that the reason why he passed out in the conservatory is because he saw James Vane in the window looking inside. My, isn't that scary? We're almost there. Almost there with the Dorian Gray adventure. Just a few chapters left now. Pop away my book. So we have chapter 18 and 19, 20, and that is it. So we are very close to finishing the book, which is good news. I feel like we've just been beating the dead horse for a while. I'd be glad to have the book finished. Welcome, Eating Donut. Thank you very much. We're just reading a book with chat, and I'll be kind of sad when Dorian Gray is over, though. It is admittedly something that I think is very fun. It's very fun to read. But glad if you find it good listening. It's great. Although I do skip passages, like here and there, ones that I think are a bit too wordy, not very good to read unless I'm trying to take up time. Satisfying yet sad feeling when you finish a good book. It's true. It's very true. It's wonderful when you read an excellent book for the first time. I know I'm the kind of person who can't put down books. If I find a book interesting and I pick it up, I will just, I'll be reading it over and over again and wishing that I could relive the same experience I had when I had read it for the first time. But actually, you know what? Since my brain is pretty small, after some time I do forget a lot of things about the books that I've read. So reading them again after a while is nice and an enjoyable experience. In terms of things to read, though, apart from Dorian Gray, there is this visual novel, not visual novel, just like sound novel. So just a not quite game. A click and read book with music and images that I like a lot. and I've read it on stream before. When I started streaming, it was one of the first things that I wanted to read and keep as a record. And I suspect that there is maybe a record of this somewhere. Perhaps not on my current YouTube. Maybe there is. I don't know if I read this with a model. I may not have. But it's one of my favorites. It's called Nasisu or Narukisozu. A old classic from the early, what is it, 2007? Like quite a while ago. It's free to download, free to play. I really like it. I think I may just make it a point to read it again on stream at some point, but at the same time, I do wonder if me reading it with a model would ruin the experience almost. Like, I feel that maybe it's the kind of thing that's better experienced alone rather than read aloud as I would do. I have seen that as a pretty common feeling of wanting to like re-experience books or movies or media that we really enjoyed, just so that you could relive the feeling of the first time's worth excitement. Welcome, Tensei. Good evening to you. But yes, there's been lots of really lovely suggestions for games to play, and mayhaps at some point I'll give them a crack, give them a go. We'll have to see. Games. If you're suggesting Firework, yes, I looked it up. The only thing I'm worried is that perhaps I'm not very smart, so I'm worried I'll get stuck on puzzles that need doing. But looks lovely. I think I would enjoy it. I think the things that people have suggested to me, I would enjoy. Bunsmart. Bun wishes to be smart, but is quite unsmart, unfortunately. Anyway. Of course, most people don't like to be backseated. I think it just really depends on what's going on. If I decided on a whim to play, I don't know, Valorant, I would probably need help. I basically have never played like a first-person shooter, so it would be very difficult. Very difficult for Bun to FPS anything. My aim is so bad. Have you seen me draw? Have you seen me draw anything? My aim is not very good. Trying to get by with that hand-eye coordination. Oof. Rubs. Hello, Connor. I'm probably just going to tie up here. Unless there's anything that anyone wants to suggest here in chat or, ask briefly before we shuffle back into the coffin. Tips welcomed. I mean, if that's a command, I don't know how to use chat commands. Oh, that's okay. I enjoy seeing them. I love seeing what people are interested in. Admittedly, I don't think I'm very good at taking suggestions, mostly because I'm already bad at doing the stuff that I want to do, finding the time and strength to pull through with even things that Bun wants to do, I stink at. So trying to take other people's suggestions, I can't say I'm very good at it. No backseating for the opposite effect. Well, you know, in the Discord, of course, if you want to say anything, you're welcome to mention whatever. You know, please don't be too offended if I don't ever get to your suggestion. Grab my coffin lid. We talk in emotes in Discord. Yes, I have noticed that people do that. Thank you for using the bun emotes. I'm sorry that there aren't many moving ones, but I hope that you can still enjoy them as static. Aside from the screaming, vibrating. Thank you. Glad you like the emotes. Yes. We'll see. So today is... Okay. Thank you. Oh. Fun screams with... Aye. So funny. Looks at my canvas. There's something interesting on the canvas that may pop out on stream someday, but we'll see, because I also think it's a stinky idea. a bad Valentine's idea. Actually, you know what? I probably just won't even. What do you think you'll do for the animated emote slots? I've made one animation, like, emote-wise, and it's not very good, but... Oh! Thank you, Super Grump, for the bits. For the bun cheer with Big Mouth Bun. Actually, does anyone have any thoughts about things that you'd like to do on Valentine's Day? For me, I had something kind of stupid planned, and I imagine that a lot of YouTubers probably are doing something cute and romantic and delightful for Valentine's. Probably. It's okay, even if you don't celebrate, just, you know, for the spirit of Valentine's, as stream ideas, I suppose, for stream ideas. Like, aha, yes. Well, I am sadly not as exciting as that dragon, so I probably am unable to pull out that kind of content. I apologize. I am not powerful enough, Bun. Nothing special at all. Hand-holding? Scandalous hand-holding? Ara? Do people want to... hold my hand? Hand holding with Bun? Thinks about how I would string this. It's possible. It's possible. If hand holding is not too scandalous. Bun dating some where all endings are bad ends though is a very interesting thought. I'd have to actively put something together to make that work. But Bun dating some where all endings are bad ends. Ponders it. A chocolate making stream? Humu. Many thoughts. Tensei, thank you for redeeming Bun Shock. Okay. I'll be Bun Shocked for you. Wide eyes. It'd be all the choices lead to the same end, which is bad. Okay, that reminds me of this tabletop scenario I think that I read. Was every end is a merry bad end. Kind of delightful. Thank you for the Bun Shock face redeem. I hope you enjoyed the bun surprise. The hand-holding one, though, I will consider it earnestly. I think that if I'm smart about it, it's not impossible. Somehow the Bun Discord became a mafia spot. You guys know that one Ducky Godfather picture? The picture of the duck surrounded by mafia with the spotlight? That's my friend. That's my friend Ren. But I think that the vibe is probably similar here. Hand-holding may be too much for all of us, we may implode. I have to admit, hand-holding is pretty racy. I love that picture, it's wonderful. And yes, it makes me think of my ducky pal. Someday there'll be a showdown between the Godfather Duck and the villainous Bun. Very well. Well, people have put in their thoughts, so I'll bear them in mind. For now, though, I'm just hoping to, try and keep to more frequent appearances. I'm trying to come. You fear for your life? Don't fear for your life. You should only fear for your life when I tell you to fear for your life. There's no need to be afraid yet. kill many viewers with cute. No, I don't think so. No cuteness overload. Only evil. The most evil of handhold. Eh? The most evil of handholding? What was I talking about? Interesting. Okay, I've gotta rethink this. It's like how I need to rethink my donation rewards, so that I don't have to keep spinning a wheel and whatnot. I've threatened you before? Well, if I was threatening you, I'm glad if it worked. Sorry to threaten you, though. I don't know if I feel happy or feel regret. Hello, just something? Hello, Pomulord. You don't get to keep your hand at the end. I'll think about it. I'm sure you'll figure out and surprise us. Oh, yes. Well, I'm sure you can understand why. Sure you can understand why the threat might come out after a bun sing-song redeem. Gazes at intently. Where would I put it? Would I use the empty screen? I don't know. Maybe I'd use this screen? It's a tough one. Will the song reading make a comeback for the one day? Well, I won't say never, but I won't say yes today. The question was for Valentine's. Yeah, I guess I asked about a general, what would you like to see if I ever did some sort of like subathon event or anything of the sort, or if I just ever wanted to do like a long haul stream, what kind of things would you like to see? But thinking specifically about Valentine's, yeah, there's hand holding and bun dating sim suggest. Choco making. I probably won't be able to make anything on person unless it's like you want to see me with chocolate at my desk the same way that I would be eating ice cream at my desk. Welcome, G. A subathon or donathon would be great. Oh, I have no stamina, so a long stream to me is like I'm pretty tired right now, and it's like we've clocked in 1.5 hours, so no comment there. But I just thinking about it, I want to do it because I think it's kind of exciting. Think it's something that people do and everyone can get hyped for, maybe. I mean, potentially I might just put my head down and snooze for a while. Not quite as exciting. Make chocolates for people that give sub or use points or something. Like a drawn chocolate. I could do. I could like decorate chocolates for people who send things or what have you. Sleepy bun model. This bun model is like casually sleepy all the time. I'm playing sleep-worthy music even as we speak. Well, among all of the things that have been suggested, what I originally had planned is different. I suppose it's different. A pop-up shop. No, that's fine. Although pulling out the good old P chat would be a nice thing to do some other day, methinks. I'll rat grab friends. Where are my friends? It's true. The comment was made to me Bun, you don't do many collabs. And I was like, yeah, I guess my friends just don't like me enough to appear on stream with me. This isn't true. Some of them have said that they would appear on stream with me. But I think it's also to do with the time of day, and also some of them do be shy, and I appreciate that. That's a-okay. Sol just pops on whenever she likes. I think that's dandy. I would be happy if the story eater just called me on a whim. Just picks up the call. Just picks up the call and I'm already on stream. Hi, sweet. How's it going? That's literally what happened yesterday. Anyway. Good times, though. I mean, I wouldn't want to make them uncomfortable, you know? Not everyone wants to be caught on video. Could you do something like design a roleplay scenario together with chat? Like for Emo Claw or something again? Oh. Designing one with chat. That's a tough one. Some of my friends watch my streams. What do I do? If we design it together, we won't be able to play it. But... Scratch his chin. It's not a bad idea. Sewer rave so that you can listen to my bopping EDM playlist. Not a bad idea. I could be Dancy Bun. I have to adjust a couple of my VTube Studio settings to use Dancy Bun, but I could certainly do Dancy Bun. Yeah. I love having a good rat rave. I'm glad if you guys enjoyed it too. Ban your friends from watching. Say, I'm specifically having a TRPG writing stream. You guys aren't allowed to come. But, like, maybe play it with me later. There's Dancy Bun. Oh, you know, so the way that this model is rigged, it's not like, this sounds ridiculous, but it's not dancing material. It's like swaying material. I rigged it originally like this, but when I fiddled with the settings in VTube Studio, I can make it look a bit more groovy bun. Oh, no. I get it. I understand. More like, if I was going to play, if I wrote a scenario that I was going to play with a number of friends, of course, if I was streaming the scenario, I would ask the other friends who are waiting to play it to not watch it. So, you know, same culture. No worry. No worries. I'm just commenting for the sake of it. Shoulder bump material, that's right. It's so fun though. I love shoulder bumping. I debate turning it on, like, on the regular, but I think it's fine like this. I think it's fine just to rave quietly here and there. Anyway, love a good old sewer rave. I'm sure we'll get to do that again sometime. If you guys would be happy to, you know, party with me for an hour, I would be down. There's no solid plans for subathon, donathon, anything of the sort. You know, I do feel guilty in my own way for receiving funds when I more than likely will, and I said this, I more than likely will spend it to, like, buy groceries. I'm gonna buy cabbages with the money that people send me. And you gotta know that. You have to know this. And if I can't buy $100 worth of cabbages, then I'll spend it on cool things for stream. It should be the opposite way around, but groceries first. Stream things later. Buy more uneaten ice cream. Oh. That's the shadiest thing you've ever said to me. Oh. It's true. No comment. Thanks, Debut. I'll buy more ice cream in your honor. I know Bird also wants ice cream. We'll just buy ice cream for Bird. I wasn't planning to eat it anytime soon, but, you know. Anyway. Oh! Someone gave me money! And I wave my knife at you. Thank you very much for the $5. I'll buy a delightful cabbage with your money. I appreciate it. Cabbage is very good for you, by the way. If you have $5 to spend on cabbage for yourself, please do. Wave my... Sorry, did I say something strange? I changed sentence halfway through. No, it was fine. It doesn't bother me at all. If you didn't notice, my alert, my resub alert and donation alerts are various bun threatening. They're bun threatening images. Here, I'll show you. I made a few. By that I mean I have 3. Here is bun waving a oh. Thank you, Debut, for the $5 for the bun ice cream fund. It's bun being angry. Here we go. Hello, Colonel Hentai. Interesting. Are you asking if I'm from Australia? The answer is no, I'm not. Close though, and yes, as you saw before, the bun anger with knife. Bun anger with knife. It's not very clear, but I have a knife. I also have this delightful thing. I have a delightful screaming bun. Oh, thank you for gifting another sub, Debut. I won't stab you, don't worry. Yes, New Zealand. Bun scream. The screamingest of buns. That, by the way, is the that's the donation alert for a large amount of money. Oh? What's that? Just something? Questions about my lore? Go ahead. We're just wrapping up, and I'm displaying the bun threatening gifs that I made. It's over 50. Where did I get those scars from? They are from being hacked apart by my delightful friend Kuzuryu Io. She didn't mean it. And I was not what she was aiming for. Happened twice, by the way. I've also been hacked apart by my lovely friend Turtle. My friends with the best of intentions. Ah, this is what happens. You must defeat the villain. You must defeat the villain, guys. Keep trying. Keep trying. And they hack me apart, and yet I keep coming back. Do I have any supernatural abilities? Bun by lore, sorry if this is breaking character to talk about in this way, but you know, Bun by lore is a kind of priestess, at the very least a spiritual sort of person. In a word, you could call her an exorcist, but I would say that That's more accurate to what she became unintentionally. Anyway, what if you want to hold hands with the villain? I don't know. What should I do? What should I do to make that happen? I'll think about it and get back to you. One day you'll receive the bun praise instead of knife. Bun praise instead of knife. Do I need like an alert that has praise? I know some VTubers release voice packs, you know, especially ones that are from like Niji and companies who create voice packs for their talents. But not sure if anyone would want such a thing from me, to be honest. I'm not sure what I would put in it. You can have like a good bun version and then like a villain bun version that calls you mean things and tells you to get out of bed. Just kidding. Just kidding. I won't do that. Why am I a villain? Did something happen to you? Something did indeed happen to me, but I am a villain now. I became a villain. I met some evil and I joined the evil side. And now I am malicious evil rabbit. Thank you for the kind words, Bun voice pack. We'll put this one aside for now. As a villainess, what is your main objective and why? That is for me to know and for you to find out at some later date. Perhaps you'll simply see what happens to Bun as time progresses. After all, my story is still ongoing. And this is what I may look like now. I was not always evil. I was not always an evil Bun. But this is what I am now. Everyone's been very understanding. For reasons that I will never know. But I'm grateful nonetheless because it means I get to hang out here on Twitch with some cool people. That's a good question. I would say that you could consider the organization my Discord and the Dark Force what is actually happening in the lore. Don't worry though, everyone's very civil. Right? Right? Everyone's very civil, right? Don't worry. Everyone's good here? Wonderful. Anyway, so wonderful talk, guys. Great talk. I've learned some new things, gained some new ideas. Wave hand. Thank you. Thanks for asking. For now it is time for Bun to crawl back into coffin. And see you all soon. It's true, the YouTube VODs are a bit long. But perhaps they'll explain anything that you want to know. Good night, everyone. Thanks for coming for another fun day of Dorian Gray. We'll be able to finish this book before long. And then we can read some new things. Should be good. Good night. Good night, good night.